Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have yet another get woke, go broke situation. Oh, yes, I know how much people out there that absolutely hate my content love hearing me say that, but yes, we have another one. So we have an article here from Fandom Pulse with a headline that reads Paramount CEO Bob Bakish fired right before the earnings call. That's gotta be a massive ouch.
Bing, pow, boom.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, good old Paramount. If anybody has watched even a sliver of Paramount's content, you would know exactly what this streaming service offers. I mean, this symbol right here is the glowing symbol of diversity, equity, and inclusion to the maximum corporate effect, ladies and gentlemen. The fakest version of it is on full display anytime they make a TV show. Very rarely do they make a banger, and to be honest with you, they're the ones that ruin Halo, and that stings for a lot of people. So let's get into this article, guys, from Fandom Post. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. It says, well, that was brief but exciting. Bob Bakish stepped down, quote unquote, stepped down, right before the Paramount earnings call started on Monday. Like the tombstone says, ouch, I had looked for this, but not so soon. I actually know I had looked for this and been surprised I hadn't seen it before now. Under his leadership, Paramount has fallen to the bottom of the Hollywood ladder. It has assets, but no real ability to make use of any of them now. Like every other studio that has gambled on its own streaming service, Paramount Plus came up snake eyes. Streaming was plan A, and there was no plan B. Paramount Plus started life as CBS All Access. It really wasn't bringing anything to the party that wasn't already there. The flagship show was the utterly disastrous Star Trek Discovery. The executive team just plain sucks. Paramount has IPs that are potentially worth more than the company at this point, but they have been absolutely squandered in the most Disney-esque ways imaginable. Now, this paragraph puts it together in a way to simply say, DEI killed this company, okay? As much as you don't want to admit it, this company, on top of bad business decisions, yes, I will admit that, but DEI is 100% a bad business decision when it comes from the corporate level. When it's corporatized DEI, it is going to be terrible for your company. This show, I should say this streaming service has not put out a good show. I don't even know in how long, ladies and gentlemen, and the amount of garbage shows that they produce far outweighs the good stuff that they might have produced, and it just doesn't make enough money. They can only continue this for so long before the DEI well runs dry. All the funding, all the money, all the everything that you could possibly get from this is going to run dry at some point. At some point, you got to focus on making money, and I guess they focused way too late. It says, getting back to the earnings call, Paramount took no questions after the call. That's how you know it's bad. If the company does not take any questions after an investor's earnings call, that is a bad look. You already know that you might as well sell off your stock because it's going to get ugly really quick. They didn't even post the freaking slides. If you want the details, you have to pull up the SEC submission, and I'm not kidding. They're hiding this thing. It was less than 7 minutes long. Granted, there were a lot of questions that they probably couldn't answer, and it would be hard to say which was more urgent. The two biggest were Comcast and Skydance. Paramount's contract with Comcast expires on Wednesday, and they still don't have a new cable deal. Mickey the Great and Terrible tried fighting with the cable earlier this year and ended up getting bent over the log ride. Paramount doesn't have anywhere near the leverage that Disney does. Whatever Paramount is forced to sign is going to be painful. So it looks like no matter what, even if this company were to make a deal, there would be somewhat in their benefit. It's not going to make it in their benefit to the point where they're going to be able to be saved. I just don't think it's possible. Second, but more important, is the Skydance buyout. There is now a challenger waiting for the exclusivity window to close, which is this Friday. Apollo Global Management is offering $26 billion buyout package, and they are acting on behalf of Sony. Skydance is only offering $2 billion. Naturally, the stockholders would like a bigger offer. However, what they want doesn't matter. Here's why. Paramount has two kinds of stock: A class and B class. Class A shares have voting rights and Class B have none. If you have the B shares, you have risk and no vote. 70% of the Class A shares are owned by the Shari Redstone, and Skydance is offering to pay her $2 billion, which is an all-cash deal, by the way, because David Ellison is Larry Ellison's son, and he literally has billions to burn. What makes this tricky is that while Paramount is publicly held, Skydance is private. The current plan is for Paramount Skydance to be public, which raises the question of how this will work when it comes to the A and B shares. This is one of the questions that were avoided on the earnings call. Like, why wouldn't you want to answer this question? Other than the fact that you probably have something to hide. I mean, we kind of already know that. But if part of this company is privately owned, you would have to start asking the question, when is it that the actual investors, the rest of the investors, are going to have a say, right? If you have two different shares, Class A and Class B, all the Class B people, I guess, are going to get fucked, and Class A is going to be the deciding factor. And if Class A decides to take the $2 billion cash because it benefits the majority of one person by 77%, I mean, that's pretty telling. You know, that person probably is going to get majority votes. 70%. Think about this, guys. 77% of Class A shares are owned by Shari Redstone. That means that she has the majority vote, right? So she is going to take that $2 billion offer, cash deal offer, and take, 70%, 77% of it. That is going to be much more telling than a 20-some-odd billion-dollar offer where she gets a lot smaller of a cut, ladies and gentlemen. And ultimately, she doesn't really care what happens to the company, right? She's looking for her own pocket. She's looking to see what's going to benefit her. And I would imagine that first deal is going to be most beneficial to her directly anyway. Shari Redstone's attitude is probably a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. The government will have to approve a Sony merger, and at the moment, that doesn't look likely without at least a year's worth of needlework, assuming it goes through at all. And right now, the regulatory agencies are making a lot of noises about how they wish they hadn't approved those big mergers from a few years ago. Besides, all cash is all cash. Now, the mergers that they're talking about is pretty big, right? Like, it's getting to the point where these companies, they all thought that they can have their own streaming service and be successful because the country was locked down. They overextended themselves. They really thought that they were unbeatable, that they had all the viewership in the world. And since nobody could go out and do anything, that they had maximum potential on return if they were to start their own streaming service. So everybody and their mother did it. But now what you're starting to see is streaming services start to shut down little by little or get absorbed by a bigger, more successful streaming service. Eventually, what's going to happen is there's probably going to be a big three, right? Like, it's going to be only three streaming services because the rest are either going to die or be absorbed. And we're starting to see that actually happen and play out real time for us, in real life. We're seeing it happen. And this is going to be no different. I don't think Paramount is going to be one that's going to stand the test of time. I think Paramount's going to end up getting absorbed by another streaming service at some point in time, or sold off, or just completely die, depending on what happens, but most likely going to be absorbed. I would guess so. It says Paramount doesn't exactly have a CEO at the moment. It's more triumvirate called the Office of the CEO. Brian Roberts, CEO of Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon, George Cheek, CEO of CBS, and Chris McCarthy, the CEO of Paramount's various cable enterprises, indicating that they are really trying to push through the merger so David Ellison can take the reins as CEO. So listen, guys, whatever ends up happening with the CEO at Paramount, it really doesn't matter. The fact that he was fired literally right before an earnings call is staggering. It's ridiculous. It's hilarious. And honestly, it just goes to show what's happening at Paramount Plus. So if any of you watching have shares at Paramount Plus, I would probably, just watch this very carefully. And if you're not looking to get out now, I would probably think about getting out at some point soon because it doesn't look good. It looks like the shares are going way, way down. It looks like this company is going way, way down. And at some point, it's not going to be pretty. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.